Hello, esteemed gentlemen. I don't burn bridges, I just quietly remove the road. There's a myth that Sigma males are quiet because they're peaceful. False. They're quiet because they've already judged the room and decided who isn't worth engaging. While the world screams about tolerance, Sigma males walk a different path, a ruthless one. They don't waste their breath correcting people or begging for change. They just disappear, and when they do, they don't look back. Psychology Today once published that people with a low tolerance for nonsense tend to have higher emotional intelligence and autonomy. Translation: Sigma males aren't moody, they're just mentally evolved enough to spot bulls **T before it wears deodorant. They don't explode, they don't argue, they don't send angry paragraphs, they simply cut off the signal and let the silence sting louder than words ever could. So today, we're diving into 12 specific things Sigma males have zero tolerance for. Not low tolerance, zero. As in, the moment this shows up, they're mentally gone and you're talking to a ghost. And if you think this is going to be your usual they hate drama checklist, think again. This isn't about red flags. This is about the final straws. Let's get surgical. Number 1. Dependency disguised as loyalty. Sigma males respect loyalty, but they can spot fake loyalty wrapped in emotional dependence from a mile away. There's a huge difference between someone who chooses to stand by you and someone who clings to you because they can't function alone. And Sigma males have absolutely zero tolerance for the latter. They've built their life on independence, not out of arrogance, but because they were often forced to be their own backup plan. So when someone attaches themselves under the label of loyalty, but their actions scream, "Carry me," the Sigma male instantly loses interest. He doesn't want to be a savior, a therapist, or a life support system for someone who refuses to stand on their own. He's not attracted to neediness, he's repelled by it. When someone's idea of love is dependency, it feels suffocating. The Sigma male doesn't want to be needed. He wants to be chosen, deliberately, by someone who doesn't rely on him to hold them up emotionally, mentally, or even socially. If someone can't exist confidently without his constant validation, he starts to feel like a crutch instead of a partner. And the moment he feels used, even unintentionally, he detaches like a machine powering down. He knows what it's like to rebuild alone, to sit with failure, to face life with no applause, so he doesn't respect anyone who hasn't done that inner work. Loyalty means nothing if it's built on fear of being alone. It's not love. It's survival disguised as connection. What makes it worse is when the other person doesn't even realize they're being dependent. They label it devotion. They call it deep love. But what they're really doing is anchoring themselves to someone else's emotional strength because they haven't built their own. Sigma males don't just walk away from that. They vanish without explanation. Because in their world, loyalty is a choice, not a life jacket. And if it starts to feel like someone's leaning too hard, needing too much, or hiding behind them instead of standing beside them, they'll be gone before you realize what happened. No fight, no warning, just silence you'll never get back. Number 2. Check-in culture. That's actually surveillance. Sigma males don't do constant check-ins, not because they're shady or secretive, but because they don't believe freedom should come with tracking devices. When someone starts treating connection like control, constantly asking where he is, who he's with, what he's doing, it doesn't feel like care. It feels like surveillance. And nothing makes a Sigma male vanish faster than being monitored under the disguise of love. He doesn't operate on fear or obligation. He doesn't believe love means reporting your every move. If someone starts expecting updates like timestamps, replies like checklists, or location sharing like it's normal, he sees it for what it really is. Control disguised as concern, and it instantly breaks trust. What people don't understand is he values presence more than performance. If he's there, he's fully there. If he's silent, it's intentional. But once you make him feel like he owes you access to his whereabouts just to prove his loyalty, he'll go dark. Not because he's hiding, but because his peace doesn't come with terms and conditions. Sigma males function best in solitude, not isolation, but solitude by choice. So when someone starts mistaking that space for disrespect or guilt, tripping him for not checking in every few hours, they're applying pressure to the very thing that makes him emotionally available in the first place, his autonomy. He doesn't mind connection, but he despises control. He doesn't mind updating someone occasionally, but he refuses to be scheduled into someone's insecurity. He's not an employee of the relationship, and he's not about to clock in and out like it's a job. Eventually, it doesn't even become a conversation. He'll just pull back, energy gone, access revoked, and the person on the other end will think he ghosted, when in reality, they turned a relationship into a surveillance program, and he simply opted out, not out of malice, but out of instinct. Because for him, freedom isn't negotiable. It's survival. Number 3, people who turn every interaction into a competition. Sigma males have no interest in turning everyday moments into contests. When someone constantly tries to one-up, outshine, or subtly flex in every conversation, the Sigma sees it for what it is, insecurity trying to wear confidence like a costume, and he wants no part of it. He's not threatened by competition. He just finds it deeply boring when it's based on ego rather than purpose. You tell a story, they interrupt with a better one. You share an idea, they dismiss it and pitch theirs louder. You succeed at something, and instead of congratulating you, they subtly shift the spotlight. That kind of energy? Sigma males see it as noise. Immature, exhausting noise. They've built themselves in silence. Not for applause, but because they don't care to prove their worth through performance. So when someone turns connection into combat, measuring who's more successful, who's more admired, who's more alpha, the Sigma male mentally exits. It's not even a dramatic scene, just internal eye roll, mental note taken, interest withdrawn. What people don't get is this. A Sigma isn't anti-competition because he's passive. He just chooses environments where everyone is too focused on their own growth to waste time comparing. He thrives in circles where mastery is the goal, not approval. If someone's trying to impress him, he's already unimpressed. Even worse, the subtle kind of competition. The fake support, the backhanded compliments, the just playing jabs that are really status checks. Sigma males pick up on that energy instantly, and instead of confronting it, they just ghost the game entirely. Because to them, real power doesn't need to be proven. It's felt, quietly, undeniably. And that's what unnerves the people trying to compete with them. They expect reaction, but Sigma males don't flinch, don't fight back, don't even engage. They leave you swinging at air, confused, frustrated, and wondering why the arena suddenly feels empty. The truth? They never wanted to win. They just refused to lower themselves by even playing. Number 4, false humility wrapped in self-victimization. Sigma males have an almost sixth sense for detecting false humility, especially when it's used as a tool for emotional manipulation. They don't fall for the poor me act that's secretly designed to fish for attention, dodge accountability, or control the dynamic. To them, there's a massive difference between real vulnerability and victimhood theater, and they have zero patience for the latter. They've known real pain, the kind that doesn't look poetic or Instagram-worthy, the kind that doesn't get applause. So when someone starts constantly highlighting their wounds, but only in a way that keeps them in control of the conversation or the relationship, the Sigma male begins to disengage, fast. He sees it in the person who downplays their success to appear humble, only to circle back for praise later. He sees it in the person who always seems to be the victim, no matter the situation, because being seen as powerless becomes their way of staying in power. That kind of behavior makes his skin crawl. Sigma males aren't cold. They just don't reward performative suffering. They know vulnerability can be beautiful when it's real. But once someone starts using their trauma like a trump card in every interaction, the Sigma feels emotionally manipulated, not emotionally connected. And once he feels manipulated, he emotionally checks out. He doesn't need you to be perfect, but he does need you to be real. If your pain is honest, he'll respect it, even protect it. But if your pain is just a stage you keep performing on so others tiptoe around you or give you a pass on growth, he sees it as cowardice dressed in soft tones. He respects strength in silence, not the loud kind, the kind that doesn't demand pity, doesn't weaponize sadness, and doesn't hide behind wounds like a human shield. Sigma males reject the idea that being broken means you're owed special treatment. You heal, you grow, or you spiral, but you don't turn it into a manipulation tactic. Because in the Sigma's world, pain is meant to be transformed, not marketed. And if someone uses theirs to control instead of evolve, they're not seen as deep, they're seen as dangerous. Number 5. Performative wokeness or hypermasculinity. Sigma males have an unfiltered radar for anything fake, and nothing makes them disappear faster than performative identity theater. Whether it's ultra-woke overcompensation or hypermasculine flexing, he sees both for what they really are. Desperate, shallow attempts to be validated by the herd. He doesn't mind people standing for causes or owning their masculinity. But the moment it becomes a performance, a calculated show meant to impress, fit in, or dominate others, he checks out, mentally, emotionally, and often physically. He's not fooled by the guy who loudly preaches social justice just to look enlightened, while secretly craving approval. Nor is he impressed by the gym bro who talks about alpha energy, but crumbles without constant praise. Sigma males don't live on stages. They live in truth. Uncomfortable, quiet, often misunderstood truth. That's why performative behavior feels not just fake, but offensive to him. It insults the intelligence of anyone who's actually walked the path these people are pretending to stand on. And he's not going to clap for it. The ultra-woke act, filled with buzzwords and moral posturing, feels just as hollow to him as the hyper-macho routine, packed with aggression and fragile ego. One hides behind fake progressiveness, the other behind fake strength. But to the Sigma, they're just two sides of the same insecure coin, people desperate to be seen as powerful without ever doing the inner work to truly be it. He doesn't want you to perform for the crowd. He wants you to be real when no one's watching. That's the measure. Can you hold your beliefs when they're inconvenient? Can you be masculine without dominance? Can you be socially aware without being preachy? Most can't. Most adopt a persona. And when the Sigma sees it, he doesn't argue or expose. It's not worth his breath. He just removes himself. Quietly. Like the exit of someone who knows that real power never needs a stage. And anyone who lives on one probably isn't strong, they're just loud. Number 6. Oversharers who expect emotional reciprocity. Sigma males are wired for depth, but not chaos. They can handle intense emotions, but what they can't tolerate are people who treat every interaction like a therapy session without consent. Oversharers who dump their emotional baggage in the first 5 minutes and then look at him like, your turn, immediately hit a wall. He's not cold, he's calculated. He speaks with intention because he's lived through situations that taught him the cost of misplaced vulnerability. So when someone starts unloading every childhood wound, relationship trauma, and unresolved life drama in rapid-fire succession, especially if it's disguised as just being honest, he doesn't feel connected. He feels cornered. The Sigma doesn't owe emotional intimacy just because someone else handed theirs out like free samples. That's not how trust works. It's not a vending machine. Insert trauma. Receive connection. And the moment someone assumes that dumping their pain guarantees his, he goes emotionally silent. Not to punish, but to protect. There's also a subtle manipulation in that kind of oversharing. It creates pressure. You're suddenly expected to comfort, respond, match their depth, and offer up your soul like it's a fair exchange. But Sigma males know that real connection takes time, space, and mutual consent. It can't be rushed. And it sure as hell can't be forced through shock value vulnerability. What oversharers don't realize is that their emotional flood doesn't impress the Sigma. It overwhelms him. He sees it as a lack of self-control, a lack of self-awareness, and most importantly, a lack of boundaries. And if there's one thing Sigma males enforce with razor precision, it's boundaries. They're not heartless, they're just strategic with their energy. They listen, but they don't absorb. And when someone turns every conversation into a monologue of emotional chaos with the expectation that he'll match it, something in him quietly detaches. Because to a Sigma male, trust isn't given just because someone shared something intense. It's earned through consistency, silence, restraint, and respect. Oversharing isn't intimacy. It's emotional entitlement in disguise, and he wants no part of it. Number 7. People who weaponize chaos to stay relevant. Sigma males don't romanticize chaos. They study it, survive it, and move through it. But they never worship it. So when they come across people who stir up drama just to stay in the spotlight, they see it as both exhausting and embarrassingly transparent. These are the types who thrive on emotional whiplash. One minute they're love-bombing, the next they're spiraling, all while expecting applause for being authentic. But the Sigma knows better. He's not fooled by chaos dressed up as a wild, magnetic personality. In fact, he finds it repulsive. He understands that some people manufacture instability because it's the only way they know how to be noticed. Their lives are an endless stream of passive-aggressive social media posts, emotional breakdowns turned into public performances, and impulsive decisions that are later framed as living freely. But Sigma males don't buy it. He sees the pattern. Create noise, center yourself in the aftermath, and call it passion. No, it's not passion. It's disorder. And Sigma males don't orbit dysfunction. They've fought too hard for internal clarity to let anyone drag them back into emotional chaos disguised as depth. And when someone constantly lives in crisis mode, always needing to be rescued, calmed, or praised for their latest meltdown, he sees them as draining, not dynamic. What makes it worse is when this chaos is framed as a personality trait. That's just who I am, they say. I'm intense. But to the Sigma, that's code for, I don't manage myself, and I expect others to adjust. He doesn't adjust. He ejects. He knows the difference between real struggle and attention addiction. He has compassion for pain, but not for the theatrics that come with using it to dominate every room. So the moment he feels like someone's chaos is intentional, or worse, strategic, he's done. Quietly, no argument, just distance. Because for the Sigma male, peace isn't boring, it's sacred. And anyone who treats drama like a personality brand gets locked out of his world without warning. Not because he's afraid of intensity, but because he knows that real power is quiet, and real relevance doesn't require a fire to be lit every 5 minutes. Number 8. Conversations that circle the drain. For the Sigma male, words are tools, not toys. So when conversations start spinning in circles, repeating the same shallow points with no purpose or depth, he doesn't just get bored, he disconnects. Not physically, mentally, emotionally. He's already halfway out the door while still making polite nods. He's not arrogant about it. He just hates wasting mental fuel. His mind is always processing, analyzing, building. So when someone traps him in a conversation that goes nowhere, about nothing for no reason, he starts scanning for the exit, and fast. It's not just about hating small talk. It's the fact that most surface-level conversations aren't even real communication. They're verbal placeholders, designed to fill awkward silence or maintain social appearances. Sigma males don't play that game. If the talk doesn't offer truth, clarity, curiosity, or even challenge, it feels like background noise he never agreed to. He especially loses interest when people repeat themselves as a performance. The ones who rehash stories they've told 100 times, not to share, but to be admired. Or those who vent endlessly about problems they have no intention of solving. To the Sigma, these loops aren't conversations. They're emotional treadmills. You're moving your mouth, but going nowhere. And here's the thing. He's not rude. He won't cut you off. He won't lash out. But his eyes will go blank. His responses will get minimal. His energy will evaporate. Because he knows his bandwidth is not infinite. And he's not going to waste it on dialogue that's just noise wearing a smile. If you want to engage him, bring something real to the table. Be blunt, be sharp, be honest, even controversial. He'd rather talk about uncomfortable truths than float in polite fluff. Because to the Sigma male, a looping, lifeless conversation isn't harmless. It's an assault on time and presence. And once you lose his mental attention, you've basically lost him. Not because he's rude, but because he doesn't owe his mind to monotony. Number 9. Attention hijackers who derail peace. Sigma males are allergic to attention seekers, especially the kind who hijack every room just to stay visible. You know the type. The person who can't let silence breathe, who needs to be the loudest, funniest, most dramatic presence in every setting. But to the Sigma, this kind of behavior doesn't read as charismatic. It reads as desperate. He thrives in calm. Not because he's antisocial, but because his energy is calibrated for clarity, not chaos. He can be in a room full of people and say almost nothing. Not because he's shy, but because he's observing, absorbing, thinking. He enjoys stillness the way most people enjoy applause. So when someone enters the space and starts dominating the energy, interrupting conversations, forcing jokes, exaggerating stories, performing for invisible cameras, he checks out immediately. The Sigma doesn't need to be the center of attention. In fact, he's most powerful when he's underestimated. So he's instantly repelled by people who mistake loudness for value. He sees attention hijacking for what it really is: insecurity that's dressed itself up as fun or outgoing. What's worse is when these people can't let anyone else have a moment. If someone shares something meaningful, they immediately redirect. If a vibe is mellow, they inject forced energy. If a conversation gets real, they deflect with jokes or try to one-up the story. Sigma males notice these micro-interruptions, and they treat them as red flags. Because to a Sigma male, peace is not passive, it's a choice. He deliberately surrounds himself with people who understand the power of silence, who don't need to scream to exist. And the moment someone starts disrupting that peace just to be noticed, the Sigma quietly removes himself. No confrontation, no explanation, just gone. He won't try to fix the person. He won't compete for space. He simply knows that energy like that comes with a hidden price, and he refuses to pay it. If you need the spotlight that badly, he'll give it to you, and leave you alone on the stage. Number 10. Being explained to like a child. Sigma males don't need to be the smartest person in the room, but they'll never tolerate being treated like the dumbest. The moment someone starts explaining something to them like they're slow, clueless, or in need of guidance, a switch flips. It's not ego, it's about respect. And once it's violated, they don't argue. They just shut down, and you're never getting back in. There's a specific kind of condescension that sets them off: the fake helpfulness. The overly patient tone, the simplified words, the smug little smile that says, "Don't worry, I'll bring you up to speed." It's the kind of treatment that assumes ignorance without ever asking what the Sigma already knows. And trust me, he knows more than he lets on. Sigma males are listeners, observers, internal processors. So they don't always interrupt or show off what they know right away. But that doesn't mean they're uninformed. It means they're watching the dynamic, measuring people, picking their moments. When someone mistakes that silence for stupidity or tries to assert dominance by educating them unnecessarily, it's game over. What's worse is when this behavior is wrapped in friendliness, condescension disguised as care, the overly explanatory tone, the unnecessary breakdowns, the assumption that because the Sigma isn't jumping in, he must not understand. That's when the internal doors start slamming. He's not going to correct you, he's not going to argue, but he's made a permanent note: this person doesn't respect my intelligence. From that point on, your influence on him is dead. He'll remain polite, maybe even cordial, but mentally, you're blocked. Not out of bitterness, but out of strategic clarity. Sigma males don't waste energy trying to prove they're sharp. They just remove themselves from circles that treat them like they're dull. And if someone keeps pushing, keeps over-explaining, over-teaching, talking down, they'll eventually wonder why the Sigma stopped engaging altogether. The truth? He doesn't correct people who underestimate him. He lets them live in their illusion, and walks away with his silence as the final lesson. Number 11. People who worship the system and expect others to kneel too. Sigma males have no reverence for systems built on blind obedience. They might navigate them, even succeed within them, but they never submit to them. To a Sigma, most societal structures, whether corporate hierarchies, social pecking orders, or cultural norms, aren't sacred. They're just frameworks designed to keep the average person predictable, manageable, and easily replaced. So when someone worships those systems like gospel and expects the Sigma to fall in line just because that's how it works, they instantly lose his respect. He doesn't care how long the rule has been in place or how many people follow it. If it doesn't make sense, if it feels artificial, or if it's built on fear and conformity, he won't kneel. He's not rebellious for show. He's surgical with it. He'll learn your rules, your structure, your chain of command, but not to belong. He studies them to understand how the system thinks, so he can quietly move through it without ever becoming part of it. That's what unnerves people. He plays the game just long enough to win something important, then walks off the board like he never cared about the prize. People who base their identity on following the rules, those who brag about being team players, who obsess over credentials, who panic at the idea of doing something unconventional, make him quietly recoil. It's not that he thinks he's better. It's that he sees the mental cage they've locked themselves into, and he knows they'll never question it. Worse, they expect others to stay caged too. Sigma males refuse to obey out of habit. They question everything, social rituals, workplace protocols, even polite behavior. They'll follow them if necessary, but only as a tactic, never as a belief. So when someone tries to pressure him with tradition or shame him with, "That's not how it's done," he doesn't argue. He detaches. To a Sigma male, freedom of mind is non-negotiable. And anyone who trades their individuality for safety, structure, or approval. He doesn't see them as disciplined, he sees them as owned. Number 12, praise that comes with a leash. Sigma males don't fall for praise that comes wrapped in invisible strings. They know the difference between a genuine compliment and a control tactic dressed up as admiration. And the second they sense that flattery is being used to guide their behavior, manipulate their choices, or soften them into compliance, they mentally walk away. He's not emotionally starved. He's not praise-hungry. He doesn't need applause to validate who he is. So when someone starts laying it on thick, "You're so smart, you're not like the others. I just trust your judgment so much," but follows it with subtle cues that expect him to act a certain way, he instantly goes cold. Not because he hates being appreciated, but because he knows when appreciation turns into a leash. People often don't realize they're doing it. They compliment him to make him more agreeable. They butter him up so he doesn't question their requests. They offer approval as a way of softening his independence, hoping if they feed the ego they can tame the man. But the Sigma has built a life on not needing permission to think, act, or choose. He doesn't interpret praise as love, he decodes it like a message. And when the message says, "Now that I've flattered you, please follow the script," he's already gone. He can even pick up on the passive-aggressive praise, the kind that sounds like admiration but carries judgment beneath it. "You're too smart to be doing that." "You're way too good for those kinds of people." These compliments aren't compliments. They're attempts to steer him, to corral him into someone else's comfort zone. And that's when his internal firewall kicks in. Sigma males don't want their character admired if it comes with expectations to act in character. They'll abandon the entire persona someone's trying to lock them into. Because for him, praise isn't a reward. It's either authentic or irrelevant. He doesn't need to be told he's rare, special, or brilliant if the real message is, "Now stay in this box I've just wrapped you in." Because once he feels the leash tightening, he bites through it and disappears. In a world obsessed with fitting in, being liked, and playing by unwritten rules, the Sigma male stands as a quiet rebellion. Not loud, not needy, just unshakably self-governed. He doesn't shout his boundaries, he enforces them with silence. And as you've seen, there are certain behaviors that don't just irritate him. They evict people from his world entirely. He's not looking for perfection. He's not demanding loyalty, worship, or admiration. What he does require is authenticity, awareness, and respect. If your presence brings peace, he'll welcome you. But if it brings pressure, performance, or manipulation, even subtly, he'll vanish so fast you'll swear he never existed. And that's the thing, you don't get a warning with him. You get one silent audit. And if you fail, you're already cut off. From emotional games to fake virtue, from chaotic personalities to empty conversations, he sees through all of it. Not with bitterness, but with precision. Because the Sigma male isn't trying to protect his ego. He's protecting his energy, his time, his inner empire. And anything that feels like a threat to that sacred space, he doesn't fight it. He doesn't fix it. He simply removes it. So if you ever wonder why he pulled back, why he went quiet, why he disappeared, rewind the tape. Chances are he didn't leave to punish you. He left to protect himself. And that, right there, is why Sigma males aren't just hard to manipulate. They're impossible to own. If this deep dive into the Sigma psyche hit hard, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and drop a comment sharing the one point that spoke to you the loudest. And don't forget to share this with someone who thinks they understand Sigma energy, but really needs to see the unfiltered truth. Till next time, stay sharp, stay silent, stay sovereign.